A champion's kick aimed to mock tradition, but awoke a soldier's hidden strength. In a clash of pride and duty, one man's fall taught a crowd to see. Sometimes, stillness speaks louder than a strike. The first light of April 22, 2025, bathes Buckingham Palace in a golden glow, its stone facade a timeless sentinel against a soft blue sky streaked with dawn's orange. Tourists crowd the courtyard, their cameras flashing like fireflies, eager to capture the changing of the guard. Amid the chatter, Ryan Chen, 32, strides forward, a martial arts champion whose designer tracksuit and confident swagger scream dominance. His Instagram bio undefeated, untouchable, unstoppable is etched into his every move. 4 training partners in matching black jackets flank him, their formation tight like a fighter's guard in the ring. Ryan's eyes lock onto guard William Harrington, 28, standing at his post in a scarlet tunic and towering bearskin cap, a statue of discipline. This is what they call security? Ryan scoffs, adjusting a custom Rolex, a gift from his latest sponsor. A fighter who stands still is just begging to get knocked out. His entourage chuckles, their loyalty forged in countless tournament victories. "Remember Tokyo?" says Jin, the tallest, his hands wrapped in fighter's tape. "That Swedish champ didn't last 40 seconds against you." Harrington's face is an unreadable mask, betraying none of his 8 years of service, 3 tours in Afghanistan, a covert operation in Syria, a medal presented in a hushed Ministry of Defense ceremony. To Ryan, he's a relic, a symbol of outdated pomp. "Look at that stance," Ryan mutters, his tone a mix of professional critique and derision. No balance, no defense. All this ceremonial nonsense would get him crushed in a real fight. Nearby, Colonel James Thornton, 62, a retired Royal Marines officer with 30 years of service, pauses during his morning walk. His weathered face, lined by battles fought and lives saved, tightens as he observes Ryan's aggressive posture. Medals glint faintly on his lapel, a quiet testament to his past. He senses the spark of confrontation, his instincts honed by decades of command. Ryan steps closer to Harrington, his movements fluid, a predator sizing up prey. "Let's show these tourists a real fighter," he declares, his voice carrying over the crowd like a ringside announcer. Harrington stands motionless, his eyes fixed on an invisible horizon, the embodiment of control. Ryan demonstrates a sleek defensive stance, muscles rippling under his tracksuit. A true fighter is always moving, always aware, always ready. He circles Harrington, his steps deliberate, analyzing the guard's form with a professional's eye. "Look at this guy," he sneers, loud enough for all to hear. "They've trained every ounce of fight out of him. This rigidity? It's a death sentence in combat." The crowd grows, forming a loose semicircle. Some tourists snap photos, intrigued by the spectacle, others shift uncomfortably, sensing the edge of aggression. A German family quietly ushers their children away, the parents exchanging disapproving glances. Ryan's entourage, Jin, a 3-time kickboxing champion, Marcus, a former MMA welterweight title holder, and 2 others, all hardened by years in Ryan's dojos, tighten their formation, their jackets creating a visual barrier that turns the courtyard into an impromptu arena. "See this?" Ryan gestures to his team. "We train winners, not soldiers playing dress-up in costumes." His voice drips with contempt, but his eyes gleam with the thrill of performance. Colonel Thornton edges closer, his military bearing parting the crowd like a ship-through wave. His expression remains neutral, but his eyes never leave Ryan, reading the telltale signs of a man seeking a stage. A young British couple near the back exchange worried looks, the father placing protective hands on his children's shoulders. An elderly woman, a veteran's pin on her coat, shakes her head in quiet disapproval. Ryan's voice rises, his performance now a full-blown seminar. "Ladies and gentlemen," he calls, sweeping an arm toward Harrington, "you're witnessing the gap between British tradition and actual combat." The guard's stillness is a stark contrast to Ryan's fluid energy, his scarlet tunic a vivid splash against the gray cobblestones. These guards are fossils, locked in a bygone era when standing in formation passed for strength. He throws a series of lightning-fast punches, each stopping mere inches from Harrington's torso, showcasing his control. Every move I make is lethal, efficient, built for victory, he boasts. The crowd gasps, some stepping back involuntarily. A teenage girl clutches her mother's arm, whispering, "Is he allowed to do that?" Ryan pivots, executing a spinning kick that whistles past Harrington's ear, close enough to stir the air. Notice he doesn't even blink, he mocks, his tone dripping with false admiration. That's not discipline, folks. That's fear of breaking their precious rules. He plants himself directly in front of Harrington, hands on hips, staring into the guard's impassive face. In my dojos, I teach people to overcome fear, to react, to engage with reality. The tension thickens. A mother with a young daughter pulls her child away, murmuring, "This is disrespectful. We're leaving." Several tourists follow, their faces clouded with unease. Thornton moves forward with purpose, but Jin steps in his path, a hand on Thornton's chest. "Let the demo finish, old-timer," Jin says, his tone casual but his eyes hard. Thornton's gaze sharpens, his voice low. "That guard is not what your friend thinks. He's making a dangerous mistake." Ryan begins a meticulous warm-up, stretching his shoulders and neck with the precision of a champion. The biggest lie in combat sports, he lectures, rotating his wrists, is believing tradition equals effectiveness. These guards look impressive, but they've sacrificed skill for ceremony. His entourage nods, their presence a silent endorsement of his dominance. He shifts into a competition-ready stance, his voice booming across the courtyard. "For my final demonstration, I'll prove why static defense fails against modern combat." His movements accelerate, a complex sequence of strikes flowing like water, each move a testament to years of training. A defender who can't adapt, who clings to outdated protocols. The crowd falls silent, sensing the line about to be crossed. Some tourists back away, others stand frozen, unable to look away. Thornton's hand tightens on his phone, ready to call for assistance, but his eyes remain fixed on Ryan, calculating. Ryan's strikes build to a crescendo, his body a coiled spring. Is nothing but a target. He launches a spinning heel kick, aimed directly at Harrington's face. The impact cracks through the morning air like a gunshot, sharp and final. The bearskin cap flies, arcing against the London sky, its black fur catching the light before landing on the cobblestones with a muffled thud. The crowd gasps, a collective intake of breath that freezes the moment. Ryan lands, his balance perfect, a triumphant grin spreading across his face. "And that," he begins, turning to the stunned audience, "is why." His words choke off. Harrington hasn't fallen. His head snaps sideways from the blow, a thin line of blood tracing from his temple, but his body remains rooted, absorbing the impact with a resilience forged in battle. His eyes, now locked onto Ryan's for the first time, burn with a cold, focused clarity, a predator's gaze that silences the champion's bravado. "Oh!" Marcus whispers, his voice barely audible, the entourage's confidence evaporating. For a heartbeat, the courtyard is still, the bearskin cap lying like a fallen crown on the stones. Thornton lowers his phone, his expression shifting from concern to grim anticipation. The crowd holds its breath, the air thick with the weight of what's to come. Harrington moves not with the stiffness of a ceremonial figure, but with the precise, economical speed of a predator honed in war zones. His ceremonial rifle clatters to the cobblestones as he closes the distance to Ryan in a blur, his scarlet tunic a streak of color against the gray courtyard. Ryan, to his credit, recognizes the danger and shifts into a defensive stance, his voice hollow. "Now we're talking," he says, but the bravado is gone. "Let's see what you soldiers learn." Harrington's first strike is surgical, a textbook combat move delivered with devastating force. Ryan blocks instinctively, his reflexes kicking in, but the impact sends him staggering backward, his confidence unraveling. The guard doesn't speak, doesn't posture, doesn't play to the crowd. He moves with the focused intensity of a mission, his expression professionally neutral as he dismantles Ryan's defenses with clinical precision. Ryan attempts a counterattack, launching a kick that won him titles across 3 continents. Harrington catches the leg mid-air, his grip like iron, and with one decisive motion, flips Ryan to the ground. The impact knocks the wind from Ryan's lungs, his eyes widening with the humbling realization that he's outmatched. Harrington pins him, one knee on Ryan's sternum, applying just enough pressure to immobilize without causing harm. "Stay down," he says, his voice low, carrying the quiet authority of command rather than the anger of a victim. "This ends now." The crowd watches in stunned silence, their cameras forgotten. Thornton steps forward, Ryan's entourage parting without resistance. "You've just received a masterclass," Thornton says, his tone measured but edged with steel, in the difference between performing combat and surviving it. Ryan struggles weakly under Harrington's hold, gasping, "What the hell, you can't." "Harrington can do far more than he's shown," Thornton cuts in. Before this post, he served with the Special Reconnaissance Regiment. 4 combat deployments, 2 distinguished service commendations. He pauses, letting the weight of the words sink in. "The discipline you mocked, Mr. Chen, is what makes him effective in situations your tournament training can't fathom." Palace security personnel arrive, their radios crackling with urgent chatter. The commander, a stern-faced lieutenant, approaches Thornton with a nod. "Colonel, sir. We'll take it from here." Thornton nods back. "Guard Harrington has the situation in hand, Lieutenant. Mr. Chen decided to test the Queen's Guard in a rather direct manner." The lieutenant's eyes narrow as he takes in the scene, the bearskin cap on the ground, the blood on Harrington's cheek. "That's a serious offense, sir." "Indeed," Thornton agrees. "Assault on a serving soldier, disruption of ceremonial duties. The Crown Prosecution Service will have a field day." At a subtle nod from his commander, Harrington releases Ryan and rises, resuming his post with parade ground precision, despite the blood still trickling down his face. The crowd reforms at a respectful distance, their expressions a mix of shock and dawning understanding. Thornton turns to the tourists, his voice carrying the clarity of a man accustomed to command. "The uniform this guard wears," he says, gesturing to Harrington, who stands resolute despite his marred tunic, "is no costume. It's earned through the same rigorous training that produces our nation's combat forces." An American tourist, a middle-aged man with a camera slung around his neck, raises a hand. "But why have soldiers just standing there? Isn't that a waste of training?" Thornton's smile is patient, almost paternal. "A fair question, but a misconception. These ceremonial duties rotate among active duty units. The soldier you see today might have been in a counter-terrorism op 6 months ago and could deploy to a conflict zone tomorrow." He nods toward Harrington. "Their stillness isn't their strength. It's a reflection of the discipline that makes them exceptional in every aspect of service." A young woman, her London accent sharp, speaks up. "Why didn't he fight back sooner? He just took that kick." "An excellent question," Thornton replies, his tone carrying the weight of experience. "Military protocol demands restraint. Guards are trained to distinguish between provocation and true threat. Harrington responded only when assaulted, and even then, his actions were precise, neutralizing, not punishing." A palace medic approaches with a first aid kit, exchanging a brief word with Thornton before tending to Harrington. The guard remains at attention, eyes forward, as she carefully cleans the blood from his cheek, his discipline unbroken even in this moment of care. In a stark security office, Ryan sits alone, his tracksuit rumpled, his championship swagger replaced by a quiet defeat. The door opens, and Harrington enters, now in standard combat fatigues, his presence commanding yet understated. Ryan stands, his body language radiating a respect absent from their earlier encounter. The security officer nods. "Mr. Chen's been charged, but he requested this meeting before processing." Harrington's nod is professional, neither warm nor cold. "Understood." The officer steps out, closing the door. The two men face each other in silence, the martial artist and the soldier, each seeing the other clearly for the first time. "That was SRR training, wasn't it?" Ryan asks, his voice subdued, the performative edge gone. "I've sparred with special forces from 3 countries. Never seen anything like you." "We adapt to operational needs," Harrington replies, his tone neutral, neither confirming nor denying. Ryan gives a humorless laugh, gesturing to the chair opposite. "Can we talk? Just man to man?" Harrington sits, his posture military straight even in this informal setting. I'm listening. I screwed up, Ryan admits, his voice raw. I looked at you and saw a target, not a professional. That stillness, I thought it was just ceremony, some outdated tradition. He looks at his hands, calloused from years of fighting but ineffective against Harrington's skill. I didn't see what was really there. Few civilians do, Harrington says, his voice calm but not unkind. That's intentional. Ryan meets his gaze. Your stillness. It's not just for show, is it? It's control, Harrington says. The same control that lets us stand for hours, lets us act without hesitation in chaos. Ryan nods, processing. In my world, it's all about the show impressing judges, wowing crowds. What you did, he shakes his head. No flash, just results. Different training, different purpose, Harrington says, echoing Thornton's earlier words. My job isn't to win trophies. It's to complete missions, protect lives. They're gonna throw the book at me, aren't they? Ryan asks, glancing at the door. Likely, Harrington replies, unflinching. Assaulting a guard on duty is a serious matter. Ryan exhales, accepting the weight of his actions. Fair enough. I earned it. He straightens, a flicker of his old resolve returning, but now tempered with humility. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. Not just for the kick, but for the disrespect. For not seeing you. Harrington studies him, assessing the sincerity. After a moment, he gives a single, precise nod. Acknowledged. As he rises to leave, Ryan speaks again. One last thing. That kick most guys would have gone down. You didn't even flinch. How? Harrington pauses at the door, his expression unchanged, but his voice carrying a trace of professional respect. When you've had ides go off nearby, a kick to the face is just another Tuesday. He exits without looking back, leaving Ryan to face the consequences of his choices, a man humbled by the realization that his strength was only one kind among many. The following morning, Harrington stands at his post, his bearskin cap restored, his uniform immaculate, the palace glowing under a clear sky. No trace remains of yesterday's confrontation, but the tourists who approach do so with a quiet reverence, their cameras discreet, their whispers respectful. A young boy points at Harrington, his father explaining softly, "That's a real soldier, son." Thornton passes by during his morning walk, pausing to observe the scene. He nods, a faint smile breaking through his stern demeanor, satisfied that a lesson has been learned not just by Ryan, but by all who witness the truth behind the guard's stillness. Sometimes, he reflects, the most profound truths are revealed not in words, but in actions that strip away illusions, leaving only respect in their wake.